Before we try printing anything, it's important to tighten up all of the components of the hot end while they are heated up. This allows us to tighten them further than we would be able to when the hot end is at room temperature. To do this, we first need to remove the hot end from the hot end collar by removing the two M3 by 20mm screws. Next, we can power on the machine and use the LCD screen to preheat for PLA. That way the hot end will heat up. I then removed the heatsink cooling fan and grabbed my channel locks and a set of pliers. And there's two areas that we want to tighten. The first is the connection between the heat break and the heat block. We can tighten this by grabbing the heat sink and also the heat block and twisting. Next, we want to adjust the heat block and the nozzle connection. Again, we can use the channel locks to hold the heat block in place and use the pliers to rotate the nozzle, tightening them up as much as possible. While the hot end was out, I used this as an opportunity to adjust the placement of the heater cartridge within the hot end also. Finally, it's a little challenging to do, reaching over the machine like I'm doing here, but we need to allow the hot end to cool back down, and then place the PTFE tube in the hot end and replace it in the hot end collar. During this process, I discovered that my PTFE tube was a little bit too long, and I actually had to trim it down just slightly to get the hot end to go nicely back into the mount. Once that's done, we can replace the two M3 screws that hold the hot end in place. Next, we can assemble our spool holder and get prepped for calibrating the printer.